You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Hey, what's up, listeners? This is Alex G, and I want to welcome you to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. I love doing this podcast. I love the fact that you all are putting the word out because people are continuing to listen all over the world. And so I want to say a special thank you and hello to the folks in Ireland and in the UK, because you're downloading each week and your numbers are increasing more than probably most other countries. Right now, we have 15 countries that have downloaded our podcast. And so I'm excited about that. People can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, and Android users can just use your Google search for Black Like Me podcast, and you will find me there. You can play or you can download it. And so, hey, continue to get the word out. For the entire month of June, I'm having conversations with dads, and we're focusing on good fatherhood for the entire month. Part of this is because fatherhood or fatherlessness has been a pain in many of our lives, in our communities. And in the black community, there are like 3 holy days in the black church community. There's Easter, there's Christmas, and there's Mother's Day. And our moms deserve the love that they get. So I am not going to mess with mothers. But sometimes Father's Day just sort of gets looked over, or it's a day everybody says, about their bad experience. I'm going to take the whole month of June and just celebrate dads, good fathers. We're not going to talk about, focus on the bad stuff. We're going to talk about what fathers are doing, that's really, really powerful. And so I've got 2 men who I respect very much in the studios. I've got Anthony Cooper, better known as Coop, in the studios with me. He is an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur. He's a community influencer. He's the Director of Reentry Services at the Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He's been doing that for a number of years. We're going to get into a story a little bit later. We have Jamal Eubanks, who is a social entrepreneur. He's an educator. This man's got 2 master's degrees. He's just greedy. He's like taking up stuff so that other people can't get it. One in special education and one in educational leadership. And I've known this man since he was a young boy. He was actually in one of our Nehemiah programs as a 9-year-old kid. And right now he's currently working with me on a special project at Nehemiah. So this is fantastic. This is my life's work, that folks who are little kids become grown-ups with 2 master's degrees, and they're helping you serve the kids into the community. And so Jamal, Anthony, thank y'all so much for being on Black Like Me today.
Yeah. Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, definitely appreciate this.
Sure. So listen, before we get into the discussion, I offer something up that's called the Black Ice Breaker. And, just want to check in, just making sure that you're comfortable in your own skin. Just want to, just ascertain your level of blackness at this moment. I don't have the power to take any black cards away. That's not the purpose of this. It's just that I want to put it on display for the whole world. Let's let the world take it.
Okay.
No. I'm messing with you all. But, and I'll ask this question just to both of you all. All right. Grits or cream of wheat?
Grits.
Salt or sugar in your grits?
Both.
Salt and sugar?
Yeah.
That man's got issues. Just sugar? You put butter on them too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you like break your bacon up? Do you mix your eggs into your grits?
Yes.
When you
Yep. I'll mix the eggs
Oh
and
my!
sausage.
I'm getting hungry right now.
Right.
When you put those eggs in those grits, that takes it to a whole nother level.
A great gumbo.
Right. Who makes the best grits in your family? You, your spouse, your mother, grandmother. Who's the grits cooker?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother?
Yeah. I'll say my sister. Now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple of secrets. I'm not gonna say over the air because people might have to buy this. Let's see. Do either of you have a Jerry curl or S curl?
I ain't that old.
You're not that old? Am I?
Nope. Not me.
Did you have dreads?
Nope.
Twist?
Nope.
I know your mama. She didn't play that, did she?
Nah, I didn't want to know it. I had the waves going, so that's what I kept going with.
No, I always either clean cut. I had a high top fade though. So
I have to remember my age group. You're like, y'all so young. Like, what, Jerry curl? What's that?
Yeah.
So Jamal, did you walk around with like one of those boar head brushes, like one of them brown brushes?
See, my waves were natural, so I didn't have to walk around with the brush just to be brushing my hair all day.
Because you got the Indian in your family,
exactly.
Right?
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, that.
One of them.
All right. Do either of you ever wear do-rag?
I
you didn't need one, Jamal.
I didn't need one, but I would. wear occasionally when I just need to lay my hair down. You know,
Because
sometimes
I've seen you in a dew cap, so don't come on this podcast.
No,
I've
no,
seen
you
in a-
haven't. I don't wear them out in public.
That always just never
In
really
public,
sat
I don't
right
wear
with
it
me.
in public.
Yeah.
That's right. I think if you wear a do-rag in public, somebody needs to take you inside and do something to you.
Like
Whip you or something. Like
right.
that's to prepare you to go outside. Like, why would you go outside in a do-rag?
Right, yeah.
Right,
I wore it, occasionally just to lay my hair down
Uh-huh.
when it got a little wild. But yeah, I wasn't coming outside with that.
Yeah. I just never wore one. I was a ball fade.
Okay, I
type of
got you.
dude, so
Did you all have play cousins growing up? People who you thought were family and you grew up and found out that
yeah,
Hey, no
oh
kidding.
yeah,
The
a whole
whole
lot of
neighborhood.
them. Right.
The south side of Madison was all related.
they really were though.
Right.
There's a lot of you definitely. Let me see. You're doing. Can you swim?
Yes.
I can swim.
Can you ice skate?
No.
No.
No conversation about that. Nope.
Let me see. When you were growing up as a kid, did you prefer popsicles or push-ups?
I didn't have a preference. If I could get one, I
yeah,
was
either
gonna
one.
take it.
Yeah.
Oh man, let me see. I keep forgetting these. I gotta get some questions for you younger people. I keep forgetting that. Pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds?
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds.
Are y'all too young to remember now and laters?
Really? I mean, I like to be that
people
that
still-
young. Yeah.
now
People still
laters
eat them
now.
now.
I can't
yeah.
find them. If you see some orange ones, just know there's a blessing in it.
I don't
for you.
remember
pick up
ever
the
seen an
orange
orange one.
It's a. Do y'all know what a 5-finger discount is?
I mean,
I'm
you
not
trying
gonna
to send us
speak
to
on
jail?
it. Right. I'm not gonna speak on it.
Is that a setup question? Like,
No, because it's been 2 years. It's not on CCAP anymore. All right. All right. I think that's good. All right. I feel comfortable with your cultural stamina.
as long as you're comfortable.
I'm very comfortable. You all there's my mom wrote this book of poetry a couple years ago. My sister and I published it. It's called Life, Love, and Legacy. And in one of her poems, she writes about fatherlessness, interestingly. And she said she wrote it with me in mind. But one of the lines says at the end of it says you don't have to have had a good father to be one. Mm-hmm. And those words have just really stuck with me, particularly coming from a mother who raised kids as a single mom. But to affirm my fatherhood by reminding me, don't ever let your limit or your lack of a father figure limit how you see your ability to be a father. And that's empowered me. It's driven me. I share that with fathers, and I think that's so important for so many men who have not had fathers. And again, I don't want to get into the fatherlessness part of the discussion because that's important. I'm going to be talking a little bit later with someone about the impact of that. But today, I really want to just celebrate young men who are good, present, strong fathers. And because fatherhood is important to me, the work of my dissertation was on the effects or the impact of fatherlessness in the Black community. And so when I see good fathers, I almost wish I had business cards that just said, hey, thank you for being a good father. Go to this website, you're going to get a free cup of coffee or free, something. I just,
right.
I want to be able to walk up because I don't know that I hear men saying that to each other. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't want to make the assumption that moms say to other moms, women say to other women, you're a really good mom. But I rarely hear my friends say to each other, man, you're a really good father. So I try to say that. So before we even get into the questions, I know I just had some fun with the Black Icebreakers. But to you, Coop, and to you, Jamal, I want to say that you all are good fathers. I've seen you,
Thank you.
With your children. I've seen the things that you've done for them that have not been done for you. And you've not let any of the things of the past hinder you from being good fathers. And so as we're looking at celebrating good dads, caring dads, loving dads for the entire month of June, I'm really glad that we're starting this discussion off with you two. Coop, what I love about your story is that, and I've watched your sons grow up because your family's part of our ministry. But what I love about your story, Coop, is that your sons helped you just turn things around in your life, and we don't have to go through all the details. Not that it's bad or wrong. Well, it was wrong what you did. But we don't want that to be. We don't want that to be either. Yeah, I got you in trouble. Yeah. So let me tell the truth. It was wrong. But you were at a critical juncture where you could have continued going down a road with some bad activity. But you're one of the few men who I've heard say, my children turned my life around. I've heard moms say they left abusive relationships because of their children, because they didn't want their daughters growing up thinking that that's what happened. But you talked to me about looking at your little boys and saying, no, they're not going to see me in prison. They're not going to see me in trouble. And in some ways, if I'm hearing this correctly, your boys helped to save your life.
Yes, definitely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, like I've said this probably a million times as far as like my sons are my angels. For me, I was incarcerated in prison here in Wisconsin, and my sons came and visited me. And so my sons actually wanted to stay in prison with me, wanted to be there, because that was the first time I was ever away from them.
Yeah.
But also there was a lot of things.
Because they loved you so much. They didn't know that it was prison.
Right. They didn't know it was prison. Yeah,
because
it was
you and I do work
thing.
together in prison, so they got playgrounds and stuff for kids to come and picnic grounds and stuff. But
in that situation, it wasn't like a playground.
They just wanted to be in prison to be with you.
I mean, the whole fact was that was the time that when they were able to come and see me, it was like, wait a minute. My dad is here, because again, that was the only time that I was not involved in their life.
Right.
I was doing the things that I was doing. I wasn't proud of it, but at the same time, I used that in order to make an income and so on and so forth to be able to take care of my family. Sure. But yeah, so it's for me, I start to see guys who were in prison, who are actually in prison with their kids, and so that that type of stuff.
The same prison.
The same prison, exactly. And so, I mean, the child ended up committing a case, but I knew, if I didn't know anything, I knew that the fact that I had to do something different to be able to show them something different, because other than that, this is all they'll know about their dad. The fact that I'm in prison. So if I would have came home and got back out here selling drugs and things of that nature, 9 times out of 10, at some point, that is going to, I mean, it's only so much you can hide from a child, right? Right. So before they're like, okay, wait a minute, my dad is a drug dealer. Right. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen? So when I came home, my whole thing was I need to do something different. I started off working at Papa John's Pizza, and I just my main commitment was really just to my kids, to be able to not only show them dad is going to work every day, dad is doing from going to work every day to eventually going back to school and so on and so forth. And really just be more of a positive influence, mainly for them. Even the work that what I'm doing now is, for me, it really started off with them, because my whole focus was just to make sure that I was never going to be behind those bars again. Right. But God had a different plan for me. So,
man, I love that part. I love that part of the story. I remember there's a picture that you shared with me when they came to visit you. They're sitting in your lap. Yeah. And you could tell they were glad to see you, and of course you were glad to see them, but you weren't glad to.
Yeah, I was embarrassed
to see them there.
Yeah, I mean, when you truly love something, and you know that you're putting them in a situation that where definitely if anything, it made, because they didn't really understand where they were at. Right. But it was uncomfortable. I couldn't hug my kids. I couldn't. I mean, I can hug them for that moment, but at the end of that day, they were going off to their mom's house, or and I was going back to my cell. So that was a big, it was a big life changer for me. Wow. I ended up going through the boot camp program. Went through boot camp, and my main focus, as much as I hated being there, but my focus was the picture I shared with you. That was me looking at my kids. That was my motivation to get home to them, to be able to show them something different, because I knew that no matter what, I mean, something that a lot of people don't talk about is that when you are incarcerated, life still happens. Right. So there's certain things that where at first I felt as though I was able to change it. Right. I was able to change it, but as far as like being financially, but I actually end up destroying our family at the same time. Right. So.
Man, that's fantastic, man. I love that part of your story. I'm going to a little bit later. I'm going to get into what your young men are doing now. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. So Jamal, tell me a little bit about your family. You got 2 daughters and a son. Tell me how fatherhood's changed your life.
Man, it's been the driving force behind me moving forward. I always had some sort of intrinsic motivation just to do well, or just to do something. But those kids coming into my life just changed everything, because I was easy to make excuses for why I wasn't necessarily moving faster or moving in a direction just to do something. Like, I felt like I was kind of just going through the motions and taking things day by day with no sense of urgency, and having those kids that really can't necessarily do for themselves, looking and needing you to do for them, kind of put urgency and a sense of drive behind everything that I was doing and started to do and continue to do now.
I love that, because so many people fall behind excuses by looking at what they didn't have. And so not only are you a very present and doting father to your children, but you also run Pivotal Transition. It's a mentoring program, and also a program called Eubanks Solutions. And so I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Tell me about this. It's Fuel or Crutch Movement. That's one of your brands. That's part of your work, Fuel or Crutch. And what's the other one? I want to make sure I'm getting this right. The
Pivotal
Transition is
Pivotal
one.
Transition is the mentoring program
Right.
that me and a friend of mine, Dante Brown, created just to give back to what we had.
I love that.
We realized that we had some of the same mentors growing up in the neighborhood. And so what we thought about was, we're back from college, we both graduated. What can we do that can help change the lives of the youth now? And
So still giving back to kids.
And so
because you know the pain of folks not being there
right
in your life, so you all give back.
And so that was our way to do it. And it's funny because we had sat down and we literally mapped out everything, a curriculum on, we wanted to teach literacy, self-advocacy, positive peer pressure, and things of that nature. But when we left the meeting, we left like, man, we needed a name. We needed something that was going to be catchy.
Right.
And so for me, I said it's a divine intervention. So I went home and I literally laid in bed probably from 10 until like 5 in the morning, just staring at the wall because my mind was racing. And then just out of the blue, Pivotal Transition popped into my head. And I thought about it for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I was like, man, this makes perfect sense, because that age group that we're focused on working with, from roughly 9, 10 through 21,
Right.
they're constantly in transitions, and those are all pivotal periods of their lives.
Exactly.
And so Pivotal Transition just made perfect sense. And in the work that I'm doing for the business I created, Eubanks Solutions, is speaking, doing kind of like inspirational and motivational speaking.
Right.
And Fuel or Crutch is kind of is a presentation that I've done.
And the significance of that is everyone has pain or something.
We all experience adversity of some sort, period. And it doesn't matter if you have privilege or if you don't. And it doesn't discriminate. It's all inclusive. It doesn't discriminate on age, race, or religion. Everybody experiences some difficulties, but it's about what you're going to do from it. Does it serve as fuel to motivate you to better your situation, to better your overall outcome, or do you use and make excuses that serve as crutches for why you can't move forward, or why you're refusing to, or not accepting accountability from your own actions or lack thereof? But at the end of the day, it's going to be your choice on how you allow those things to affect you.
It's going to motivate you one way.
Right.
Some way
Either it's going to push you, or it's going to hold you back and
crutch.
serve as a hindrance. So that's kind of where the idea of Fuel or Crutch came from. And, it started with myself.
No, I love it. You two remind me of a very important concept. The idea of not having fathers in a home is not brand new. It's sad, but it's not brand new. I think what the world is focusing on today, and this is part of what I looked at with when I was working on my dissertation, is we still have uncles, coaches, fathers, big brothers, play cousins who are those role models. When I talk about fatherlessness today, I'm talking about the lack of those role models because fathers and sons are in prison. Sometimes the grandfather is there too, 3 generations. And so when you all give back the way that you do tirelessly with young kids, with you, Jamal, and with men, Coop, I know you work with women who are coming out of prison as well, but the bulk of your work is with men. You two are becoming fathering figures. You're helping to eradicate fatherlessness. Not that you are the father of the folks that you're serving, but you're still those father figures. And I need people to really understand that. Because a person does not have a father in the home does not mean that they're really fatherless. But if there are no role models, coaches, teachers who look like them, think like them, can relate to them, that's what attributes to fatherlessness. And so you men taking your experiences and not only being there for your children, but being there for other people's children is really important. I mean, Coop, there are times I see you at parties or you're going to check on someone who may not have a dad. And so not only are you there for your 2 sons, but you're there for other people's sons. that's an element of community development, of community empowerment that we're used to, and we need more and more of that. There are examples of people just living riotous lives because they've been hurt, but you all have learned to take your experiences and channel it into something that helps you to be there for other people's children, and I respect that greatly. So listen, so let me ask you another question. What lessons have you learned, or what lessons have your children taught you about life? Just give me one key. I know it's probably a lot, but
I'll come out with the first one that popped into my head was patience.
Yeah.
They definitely taught me to be patient and to work with them through things that they're struggling with. Because I know even as a kid that there would be times where if something I wasn't getting or grasping the concept of, I get upset and like whatever and be done with it.
Right.
Not necessarily, not realizing at the time that problem or whatever it was that I was dealing with isn't going anywhere. Just more or less, I just put it on the back burner and still was going to end up having to come back around and deal with it again anyways. So teaching my kids those lessons because I'm having to learn it while I'm processing it with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, just a balance. And being able to, not only keep things in better perspective for them, but then also even for myself, just to kind of say, like, it's been times that even my sons have said, "Oh, Dad, maybe we should just hang out at the house today." Instead of us going somewhere or always being on the move, just sometimes, all right, we'll just hang out at the house. Just hang out at the house and just kind of just, sit on the porch and just kind of just, talk about whatever. So those little things, even though they didn't necessarily know what they were teaching me, but for me, because I reflect a lot. And so, but then also even in that was something I didn't meet my dad till I was 25, 26. So it was one of those things that, like, wow, this is something I've always wanted that I actually forgot about. But I'm actually having that moment with my own kids when we painted our porch, and that was and those types of things were just those are things that no matter what again for
those
me
are great
balance
lessons.
Yes balance it's a blessing.
There's a part of us even as adult men who long to have relationships with fathers and father figures, but I found that by parenting, by being a father to my daughter, it heals part of that. So there's a lot of joy that I get out of just being a father. Particularly, hey, Dad, what are you doing tonight? Can we watch a movie?
Right.
Or I have this idea or decision I want to process with you. Those are really, really great lessons. Have you spoiled your kids? Oh, you gonna say something cool?
Yeah, I was gonna say one more thing. I think my sons also helped me forgive my father.
Yeah, actually, one of the questions I was gonna move into.
I'm sorry,
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Tell me about.
I met my father after I got out of prison. After I came home from prison. So it was one of those things that where, I started to think all of a sudden he pops out the blue and calls. I met his ex-wife before I actually met him. Okay. So that was a strange situation within itself. And so she always kept my mother's number. The next thing, I think it was a year or so after I got out of prison, he calls.
Interesting.
So even in that, I had to think to myself and say, you know what? For me, even though my kids were younger, but I needed to be able to explain to them one day that Dad was in prison. So, I was like, I would hope that they would forgive me because I was doing that period. I didn't feel like I was there as their father. Okay. No matter what, I'm their dad, but but at the same time, I wasn't able to take care of them and so on. I left them vulnerable.
So why so you want them to be able to forgive you?
Right. And so
you've got to be able to forgive your father.
Exactly. And so that kind of came.
That's mature thinking.
Yeah. So that came, all that came out all at the same time. And so I was able to talk to him as a man. Because my father, as far as he didn't even know that I went to prison. Okay. So, and I talked to him as a man and just said, hey,
Did you know what? I forgive frustration?
You. Oh yeah. Oh yes. I'm glad he didn't meet me as the younger Anthony or younger Coop.
Because something could have happened.
Right. Just to be honest.
You might have had a longer sentence.
I'm not recording that. I'm not saying anything to that. But it was one of those things that where I mean, even to this day, we talk about all types of stuff, you know, and we have a
You and your father.
Me and my father, we really have a good relationship.
That's fantastic.
But I had to learn. I learned how to meet him where he is, and so certain things that.
But your kids helped you with that too.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
so your kids helped you turn around.
Exactly.
But they also helped you to realize you need to forgive your father because you want that same level of grace
Exactly.
extended to you.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's fantastic. That's really something. And so, how about you, Jamal? I mean, while you're thinking about the question, like how has becoming a father made you think about your father? I told Lexi that my father was dead when she was young. So I don't have a father.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I slipped after she was, I slipped and said something about my father. And she said, "You have a father?"
Wow.
"I have a grandfather?" And she was like 4 or 5. I said, shoot, I didn't want to feel like I was using her as a child to get my father back in my life. Because my folks divorced when I was young. So I thought, let me just keep him out, because if he was going to be in my life, he's not going to be in my daughter's life. And so, but when she said, "I have a grandfather," so I set up a meeting to go to Chicago to see him. Went to my brother's house. We walked in. She ran and just flew in his lap. Just like just jumped in the air and just landed in his lap. He was glad to see her. And she sat there for like 2 minutes and then jumped out and went to play with her cousins and left me in that room with that man. And we hadn't talked in years. We have not been in the same space together for years. And I had a whole lot of anger. And so, by being a pastor and stuff, I was trying not to use the words that I was hearing in my head or feeling. I was trying not to follow through on some of the impulses.
Same cell as me.
Yeah, dude. I would have been in there. I would have had a prison ministry. I would have been in there. But that was the beginning of us starting to talk again. And so I don't know that it made me think that much about my relationship with my father, but it did cause me to tell her the truth, that he wasn't dead. And it started the conversation. And eventually we really worked towards reconciliation. But because Lexi wanted a grandfather and I wanted to be able to offer anything I could, how could I deny that from my child? But I was mad at that little girl for taking me all the way to Chicago and sitting in that man's lap for 2 minutes and then jumped out and started playing with her cousins while we had to start talking about small talk. I'm getting mad thinking about it. It's all right. I'm going to have a talk with Lex when I get home. Jamal, how about you? Has it made you think? How is parenting? How has being a dad made you think differently about your father? If you think differently about your father,
I don't know if it did. It made me more protective.
Really?
Yep. I didn't want them to go through some of the same disappointments that I went through, and all the broken promises. I just wanted to keep them from that. I never said that, he wasn't around or whatever the case was. I did just let them know that he just wasn't involved in my upbringing.
Sure.
And for a long time, we would go years without speaking.
I know that feeling.
And then we would. I remember there was a time where I still tried to keep a relationship with my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
That my grandparents, his parents, sent for me and didn't let him know that I was coming.
Wow.
So I had actually gone.
And they live in the same city or the same.
Oh yeah, they're in the same city.
Okay.
So my dad's side of the family is in Detroit, and so my grandparents paid for me a plane ticket to come to Detroit.
And didn't tell your father.
Didn't tell my dad anything, and so I'm there hanging out with my grandparents, and then if my cousins came over, hanging out with them, and then just so happens that one of those days that I was there, I had probably been there 3-4 days already.
Oh wow.
My dad came over because him and his father had a good relationship, and they would play chess randomly. And so I'm upstairs, and I come downstairs, they're playing chess, and my dad was heated. He was pissed
because they didn't tell.
Because they didn't tell him, and we were in one of those times where we weren't speaking, and so he got mad at my grandparents and left.
Just left the chess game.
He left the chess game, left the house, and was mad and felt that they had gone behind his back, still having a relationship with me because we weren't talking.
Wow. So they were taking your side over his. Did he understand that you're their flesh and blood also?
I don't think it quite registered. A lot of things I don't think quite registered at the time.
Right.
But
that's interesting that he got mad that you had that they had a relationship with you.
Right. And there was just times where it was very bad as far as our conversations.
No, I got you.
Kind of similar to you guys' story when having those conversations. And I tried to be as respectful as possible because most of our bad conversations happened when I was probably in high school.
Okay.
And it would just get to the point where I would no longer want to go back and forth because he didn't see my side of things. And so I just would let it go. And that would probably end up going another 2-3 years without speaking.
Man, I can relate to
and
that.
So, I know there was a lot of times when I was a kid where he would tell my mom he was coming to get me and spend the weekend with me or come get me and take me back to Detroit, just, the bonding opportunity.
Right.
And so after, the time that he was supposed to be there, he wouldn't show. Those are those broken promises that I can remember sitting by the door waiting on him to come, and he never show up. And
you just can't do that to kids.
And that's what I wanted to keep my kids from, and so it made me more protective.
So you keep your word. I mean, to the best of
my ability.
Sure, we know
and
things
then
come out.
And I try not to. And that was it. I just didn't want them to have to go through that and have him making those promises that he made to me to them, and then not follow through. They have met him. They met him once, and I was really, really hesitant and reluctant to do it.
I know the feeling.
I was in Detroit, and I was visiting my other relatives, and I had a conversation with my mom while I'm there, and she was like, "You should just take him by." And I didn't want to, and I literally was probably a block away from the house eating, house eating with the girls, and I was like, "Let me just go ahead and do it." And I took them because, like Lexi, they wanted to know who their grandfather was as well, and so I took them. They got a chance to meet him, and one of the funniest moments that I have experiencing with him, I go downstairs in his basement. He has like a weight set and stuff of that nature, and I go downstairs and lift the weights or whatever. And he has a treadmill too, and I don't know how, but my youngest turned the treadmill on, and she's actually got it on full speed. And she grabs onto like the rail of it to go onto it. But for I don't know how she did it, but she didn't actually touch the treadmill, but went under where the control is. And so my dad tried to run to catch her before she got on it. Now she slipped up under the control and got off and just moved out the way. But as he ran over, he hit the treadmill trying to catch her and fell face first on that treadmill.
Wow.
Oh my! It was one of the funniest moments.
Look at God
that I had experienced, and I couldn't do nothing but just laugh. And for me, I think one of the things that when we always would have those conversations and end up arguing was, I think I was looking for his ownership and what we didn't have. And I want to say up until maybe 3 years ago, he called me one day while I was at work, and I was kind of upset, like, why is he calling me? Because he called me like 4 times, and I just ignored it because I was at work. And so this time I answered it, and he just apologized out of the blue.
Really? For not being there?
For not being there. And I was speechless because I think that's all I had wanted for so long was just kind of like the ownership and go from there. And so now,
but Jamal, that's important because there's a lot of fathers who feel like too much water's going under the bridge, too much time has passed, and they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. They feel like they want to just go from 0 to 60 and act like everything is okay.
Right.
But it really does start by just saying, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I mean, because I started talking to my father with Lexi. Because of Lexi, he explained to me a little bit about what happened after he and my mom broke up. And it wasn't about me. I think a lot of kids think it's really about
trying to figure
them.
out what did you do to not have this relationship.
Exactly. And so so I want to bring it back to you all talking about your fatherhood, because I don't want to have us talking about our dads.
Okay.
But I want to focus on you guys today as being good Were you gonna say something, Coop?
No. Only thing I was just I had a few different things that I was just thinking as far as what you were talking about, like the protection of your kids, because I didn't allow my father to meet my kids for a year. So because of, I think, the fact that where I didn't meet him, well, the first time I ever met him when I was a kid, I met him. I had to be probably about 5 or maybe 6, and he promised me a bike. Now, mind you, I don't meet him again. I didn't know what my father looked like until I was 26. So it was one of those things that where it was just kind of like, but I know that where like my father actually had the same moment of just kind of just saying, hey, you know what? He sat us all down. I'm the only boy. I have 6 sisters, and really just started talking about his life and so on and so forth. But I think the more that you keep reaching out and having conversations, I don't know if y'all talk now, but things other things are going to reveal themselves. But then also, it's going to be some healing in that process because we're not here forever. And
that's one of those things that I'm trying to work with. We'll have conversations every blue moon. But you know how you talked about so much water under is like, how do we have a relationship? Like, I'm 34.
Right. What can you do? What can you tell me? What?
Like when I probably needed you the most, you weren't there. So I've been fending and trying to figure things out on my own for so long. It's like, I just don't know how. But, like you said, the conversations probably are a great place to start. And I know I've been told from other people that I should probably try and be more consistent in trying to have those connections or conversations. And I'm a little stubborn, but I do know that I probably need to.
But that's also okay too, Jamal, because folks on the outside, they often tell us, go say you're sorry, go sit down by them, go play together, and not really give us room to process what we got to process. Because a lot of who we have become is out of that vacuum.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that made us retire because we got to run faster, and by not having them around, many of us probably have felt like the surrogate fathers or the men of our homes. I'm a brother of a younger sister. She's only 2 years younger, but I felt like a father figure as a kid. So it's not just that the father's gone. There's some adjustment in our lives that take place because they're not there. So when people on the outside just say, just go ahead and talk, I don't think people really understand all that happens in a young man's life. Like I've talked to young men whose fathers were severely abusive to the mom and to the kids. I mean, just horribly abusive. And then when the father gets older and sickly, folks are saying he didn't even go take care of his daddy, and that no matter what, that's your dad. People are saying they probably had a father.
Right.
But that's hard. I mean, when my father got real, as old folks say, low sick, I went to the hospital. I helped to make decisions about his final days, his burial and stuff like that. But I didn't feel like a son. I really felt like a community leader who was helping someone that didn't have family bury a loved one. I felt like I do at funerals where I don't know someone. Coop, you've been around where I've done funerals, gave room for funerals. I didn't know the young men, but I wanted to give space to them. That's a strange feeling when there are other folks around who are calling him dad. I never called my father dad because I never knew him that way. But I don't think people realize the calisthenics that you have to go through inside just to cope. So it's not always as easy as just saying, hey, let bygones be bygones. Doesn't mean you want to hold a grudge, but it's not just one thing. It's not just, I didn't get a bike or you didn't come to my graduation. You start making up excuses. You got to fight why you're not as good as you. Sometimes you pick up habits just because you want an affirmation, or in my case, you become an overachiever. Because I'm never gonna let I'm not gonna never let anybody think that I'm hurting, or I'm never gonna let that think that I need anything from him. So I said to myself as a 6-year-old, I don't need your bike, I don't need your clothes, I don't need you to take me to the barbershop, I don't need you to teach me about girls, because I'm never gonna let you think my mom was lacking. That's a lot of responsibility as a 6-year-old kid to decide that's your stance in life. And I'm 54. And it's still hard to ask for help because I made my decision. I'm gonna be my own.
That's
real.
You
young men need
I know
to listen
exactly. No, I know exactly.
Y'all experience that?
Yes.
I struggle to the umpteenth power to ask for help. My mom used to always just be like, "Why don't you just ask your uncle? What's the worst that they could say? No." Yes. It's been a struggle for me. But there's that when he apologized or whatever, I did feel like a sense of just relief.
That's good.
And forgiveness. But there are just certain things that I know that are like staples and landmarks that I just will never forget. And I don't know if I'll ever get over. I just remember one of the things was I would go and visit him, and he would brag to his friends like, "Yeah, man, my son is playing basketball.
He's in college.
He's doing all this." My dad has never seen me play a basketball game.
My father never seen me run track.
I got a chance to play basketball in college and never saw me play a game ever, from elementary school all the way through college.
Some of my father's buddies told me, "Yeah, your dad told me that." And I'm a junior, so I mean we have the same name, of course. My dad told me that you pastor in a church in Madison and you do this, you're doing that in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that he knew what I did. Like, he doesn't even know. He passed about 3 years ago. He didn't even know that if he just dropped in the middle of Madison and walked to a grocery store or someplace. I'm not saying everybody know who I am, but he could literally walk someplace and say, "I'm lost. My name is Alex G. Sr." Somebody would say, "Oh, there's a church, there's a program. I know somebody knows him. I know some of your cousins." He has no idea that his name even has recognition in this community. But yet some of his friends was telling me stuff that he was saying about me. I didn't even know he knew what I did. He asked me about my wife because he didn't know her name. "How's my daughter-in-law doing?" And that would make me mad. "How's my granddaughter doing?" Your granddaughter's got a name, but maybe you showed up every 15. Let me stop. I'm getting mad. Father's Day, good positive things.
Yeah, let's go with the positive.
Right. But it's good to get those things out, though,
It really
and
is.
be able to talk.
It is.
Because I think to be able to talk about it in community and as men, but then also it helps the conversation for other men to be able to talk about those things as well.
Definitely, and understanding that you're not the only one. And
Exactly.
that we both hold some of that pain or unresolved issues, but it doesn't keep us distant from our kids. And I think that that's part of what I really respect about you two young men, that you're younger fathers and y'all are committed. You're doing stuff. You know, Jamal, I've seen you bring your kids to dance rehearsal or bring them into, have them in programs. And Anthony, to think that your boys used to come to prison to see you, and now they're protecting our borders. I mean, you got a son who's in the reserves.
Yep, Army Reserves,
and then the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So is he out to sea right now?
No, actually, he'll be out to sea on the 23rd.
Man, and so just knowing all the craziness that's happening in our country, and all the excuses. I won't even go there.
Yeah, I would say that's a whole other.
But just the fact that that your young boys have become men and they're not in prison, they don't have kids, they're not womanizers, they're not abusers, they don't have records. They are protecting our country. Man, how proud does that make you as a father?
I'm extremely proud of them. I mean, again, they're doing what angels do in the way I look at it. I mean, when I see my sons, sometimes even when they were just home, right? They're like, "Oh, Dad, why are you just sitting there staring at me?" Like, oh, I mean, because they don't really realize how much I am proud of them. I mean,
you slept on that couch crying, weren't you? Was balled up in the corner crying, weren't you?
Yeah, I have my moments. Even now, the fact that we're that now they're young adults, and it's still I was just talking to Jamal about this outside. It's just like man, I was kind of holding it back when we were talking a little bit, because I was like, when I talk about my sons, they're my everythings. They're the ones that they're my reasons. So they give me life in a lot of ways. So.
Man, you were at my house recently because my daughter just graduated from UW-Madison, University of Wisconsin-Madison. We got another Badger in the family. But I also love the fact that we've watched each other raise our kids. Like, I was in a Dallas airport coming home from a speaking engagement. Somebody said, "Pastor G," and I turned around, it was Akeem. He was coming home. I said, "Hey, can I put a selfie up on Facebook?" He said, "No, I'm trying to surprise my dad." And I said, okay, I won't post it. But we were just talking about what he was learning. I was asking, what are you learning about yourself? What has boot camp taught you? Where are you strong? What's it been like? He was in Florida for what? Was he training?
No, yeah, it went to I'm sorry, not Florida, Mississippi to Texas.
That's right. So I saw him there. But the other thing that's important is that I was at your celebration when they graduated, and you're at my house when my daughter did. So it's great to be fathers who are celebrating each other's kids, who they know that they're good fathers in the community, and so their concept of what fathers do will be much different than what we thought. But not only what they saw in their home, but fathers being in relationship with each other, fathers being friends with each other, and fathers celebrating the contributions and the accomplishments of each other's children, I think is an important part of community, and particularly because we're part of the same faith community, part of the same church. That's a beauty of the faith community,
right,
that we're doing life together, but our kids grow up knowing each other and know that they are men who pay bills and take care of their children and honor their children's moms, and are expecting great things. Like if I saw your son out the box in an airport, I would have walked up to him and said, you know, he's in the military, so I wouldn't have done anything in public. But I would have said, man, when we get on that plane, when we land in Dane County, I'm going to give you a ride home.
Right.
But I also know that if you saw, you know, Lexi out the box on State Street or something like that, you'd be like, young lady coming. You probably wouldn't tell me right away. No, you probably would, because you like to tell.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to call you at the same time.
Yeah, like, I got Lexi down here, and it's going to definitely. And I know, just, you know, even with, you know, Jamal's kids, if I ever saw his kids out the box, I'd be like, wait a minute. I knew your dad when he was shorter than you all, crying because he didn't think he was going to be able to play basketball.
Right.
I definitely thought I was going to be short.
Thought he was going to be short. And you out here acting like this. I know how hard your father has worked, and so I like that part about our community, that we that we can encourage each other's kids, and we're really proud of each other's contributions. Let me ask you one more question, because I know you all have to get back to your day. What's your biggest fear as a parent? Or worry?
Wow.
You know, if there's any.
Well, go ahead. You want to go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, my biggest fear or worry is them growing and maturing, and at some point not needing me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's honest. That's real.
Like
it's,
all of a sudden,
man,
dad isn't needed anymore. It's like that frightens me. It's like I've been there for them for everything.
Yep. They're my babies.
Like I was there when you was taking first steps.
Yep.
Yes.
And then I got to a point where you know, as they continue to get older, they actually do need you less and less. Like I went to make a bowl of cereal a couple years ago, and my oldest is like, I don't need it. I don't need you. I can do this. What?
Go to your room.
Right.
Can I pick out my own clothes? No. What are you doing? Hold on. Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
But you know what? I can tell you, as a dad of a college graduate, they will always need you. Because I've seen how your girls look at you. They will. You know what? It's funny. It changes a little bit. You know, it's, hey, we got to talk about colleges, or we got to talk about boys, or we got to talk about life. We got to talk about a car. I mean, so it's interesting that the conversation changes a bit. But I thought when Lexi got out of school, I could travel more for work. I could take more speaking engagements and stuff. I realized that she needs me at a different level. So you're going to find that out. They're going through their independence, where they're cutting the apron strings or the hoodie cords or whatever it is. But believe me, they'll still want to talk. But because you taught them to be so strong and so independent, that's a part of your teaching in them.
Right.
But because you're very level-headed, Jamal, they're always going to want your wisdom or your feedback or to process stuff with you. But that's a real fear. But I've just seen you and your family together, dude. They're gonna need you, and they're gonna want to talk to you. They're gonna want to pull your ear on situations. What's gonna freak you out is how honestly they're gonna talk to you when they're adults, and you're gonna hear your voice back, man. So just know that. But I appreciate that vulnerability, man. But no, those beautiful young girls, they gonna need you just to process this whole crazy world out here. Dad, how did you do this? And what are you thinking about this? Coop, how about you? You got a fear?
I think we were kind of talking about that a little bit earlier. So, but yeah, you know what? I think me not being able to show them, or them not necessarily always capturing the moments that are going to make them to be better men, better fathers, better,
Sure.
you know, because one of the things that I've said to my sons, even when I came home, I always told them, I said, look, I want you all to be better than me in every way possible. And, you know, from them, you know, going graduating high school to going to the military, about to go to college, and, you know, things of that nature. Those were things that to me, they made some good steps as in doing that, but then also there's so much more. I'm like, okay, well, son, I also think you should be doing this. You know, these are some things that I may have missed out on growing up, but you have that opportunity to do it. go ahead and do it. And whatever I can do to support you in doing it. I want them to be able to really capitalize on everything that was given to them.
Sure.
And also, but also that they're working hard to get the things that what they want as well, and not give up, because I'm living proof that I didn't give up, and because I didn't give up, I want to be able to pass that on and to their kids, and so on. That's
important.
Yeah. So
I think one of the things I fear is that I've coddled Lexi because she was so little, so fragile, so vulnerable when she was little, and really up until about the 4th week, we didn't know she was going to live by being in an incubator. She was 1.5 pounds when she was born, and so I balance, and we couldn't hold her a whole lot. So I worry about the balance of supporting her and coddling her, but making sure she understands how strong and incredibly brilliant she is. So as she's getting grown, I'm thinking, have I told her everything I need her to know about life? And so this is why I said to you, Jamal, no, they're gonna need you, because when she went away to college, and it's 10 minutes from my front door, I was thinking, did I teach her everything? Well, we still get to go to movies. We get to process. Right. We still get to do life. She's out of college. Hey, Dad, what are you doing tonight? What are you doing Friday night? Let's go here. Let's go car shopping. So I'm realizing there's still. Let's go. You know what? I had to spoil my baby.
Right. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
She got it in 4 years. I told her I'm getting her a car. My mom, we're getting her a car. But don't tell her though. Don't tell. This is a surprise. But so I think I worry about
before June.
Right.
No.
So you better hurry up.
No, she knows. But I think I fear, have I taught her all the things I know? Like, have I gotten stuff down? I actually started writing so that she understands me more. That's actually why I have 2 books that are out, because I want her to know how I process fatherlessness, why she's so important to me, how she's helped to redefine my life, that I'm not just trying to be a community activist and I'm an overachiever, but she's given me a reason just to be a dad and a family man. It's helped me to really slow down and say, oh, well, you can't do all of that because, I'm a dad. I got to, they messed up her kindergarten graduation day. So I was in Colorado speaking, I was a featured speaker that week. And I said, you know what? My daughter goes to this small little church school. She's graduated from kindergarten. My wife just called me crying because they said it was next week and it's this week. And I said, oh, Reverend G, I'm sorry. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. You don't
understand what I'm
you don't understand what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm about to go get on an airplane.
That's right.
I'm finna fly to Madison and watch my baby walk across that stage so I can fall out and cry. So they're like, oh, I'm like, I'm just trying to give you a warning. I'm going to speak twice today because I'm not going to speak tomorrow because I'm finna go to the airport in Denver and go see my baby graduate. I just found that video. And so it's so cute watching her do that. But it's just so just worrying about, did I put everything, have I told you everything I want to know? We still have these conversations where I still get a chance to do this. So some of those fears are being, allayed, but I want to make sure she remembers all these things.
Right.
I'm writing and putting stuff down, even podcast. Like these are things she'll be able to go back and listen to because even things I don't articulate, those are things there are still things I want her to know about me. Man, look, I'm sorry. You guys say something?
I got a question for you guys. Just because it's something that has been something that I've been trying to process and talk to my kids about, is because of the job that we've all done as fathers, and we all know what it's like to go through life without them. Do you ever find yourself having conversations with your kids and them not even realizing how much different that their upbringing is than your own, just because I know
they don't know,
right? And they don't know
clue.
it. Yeah,
and I try and get my daughter to understand. We've had this conversation a lot of times. I'm like, you do see and understand that a lot of your friends or kids that look like you aren't getting this experience where their father is there and present with just about any and everything that they can be for you. And I don't even and I feel like I spoil her in that regard, which I think is a good thing, though, that they don't even see that it's a lot of children that are raised without their fathers.
Right. Yeah, but also I think that for some kids because they don't understand the importance right now. Later on down the road, they probably will. We have those talks every once in a while. But now that they're older, I think I kind of talk more about, like, if XYZ was to happen, these are the things that what you need to do. These are the way how you have to make sure things are set up, and to be honest not only, with themselves, but then also be honest with the people who they're with. Because I was a young father, things happen.
Right.
And really being able to guide that as much as possible. But always hoping that for them, no matter what, that they will always know that I'm always here to talk to you. I'm always here to be able to work things out with you, and for us to be able to walk that fine line together, to basically have the common goal as well.
And it's important for us to realize that our children will never have the whole in their hearts that we do. We can't imagine what it's like living with our fathers any more than they can imagine what it's like to not live with their fathers. So to get them to relate to reality that is not theirs and won't be theirs is a sign. It just can't happen, but it's also a sign that you all have done your jobs real well.
Right.
That they're operating under this reality that I got covering. Somebody's going to catch me. I'm going to be loved. I'm going to be protected. Somebody knows that I'm strong, that I'm beautiful. Somebody's affirming me who loves me. Right. So I don't need people who don't love me to try to trick me and affirm me. So part of them not getting it is because you all have done your jobs so well. So listen, you all, I'm running out of studio time here. I could talk on and on and on. I think we need to do another segment. We got to have more. I think fathers talking to each other about fatherhood, talking to each other about our children and our fathers is important. I don't think we have these conversations a lot. I think it's why a lot of our brothers are struggling, because they don't have a format like this and they don't have the outlet of really being good fathers. And so I really appreciate you all. You're great fathers, and you're raising wonderful, wonderful human beings who are helping to make the world better. They're not afraid to explore. They're not afraid to color outside the lines, because you all have modeled so much. So like good fathers, you've absorbed a lot of that pain and have not transferred that to them. You provided some covering, a buffer for your kids so that they can grow and be healthy and have fun and live productive lives. And for that, society owes you two dads a great appreciation. And so, listen, I love what I do. I love being able to have these wonderful conversations.
Before we end, I need you to know that you're an awesome father as well.
Thank you, Coop. Thank you.
You're a good example for us to look at and model.
So thank you. Y'all, that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. And so thank you for being a part of the Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G family. Continue to talk about what's happening on the show. Share it with your friends. And again, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify, and Android users, you can find us as well. And as always, listen, learn, and live better.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. You can find out more about Dr. Alex G's amazing work at www.alexg.com. Black Like Me is sponsored by the generosity of the Human Family Unity Foundation.